Hello, internet viewers. Welcome to Raf's Garage. I have a problem with my W140 Mercedes Benz. Every time I press on the brake pedal, I get the brake pad wear warning light coming on. This started about a month or two ago, and then the brakes really quickly deteriorated. It takes a lot of effort to stop the car now. That's not good for a 5,000-pound car, and it makes grindy noises and squealing sounds. It's embarrassing. You know, you're driving along in your Mercedes-Benz and it's squealing like an old, I don't know, farm implement or something. So I bought some new brake pads. We're gonna jack it up, take the wheels off, and you're gonna watch me change the brake pads, and maybe it'll help you if you need to do it in the future. Okay, car's jacked up. There it is, ready to go. What I've done is I've loosened the cap on the reservoir because we're going to be pushing back the calipers, the pistons, and I don't want any air. Yeah, I just want it to move easy. I don't know if the system is sealed or not. I think it is. I don't know, but someone told me to do that, so I do it. Now I'm cheating because I already did this side. So these are all new, and I ran into some problems. So hopefully it'll make it smoother doing it on this side. So. But here we go. So first things first, I'm gonna make it a little bit, whoa, a little tripod thing right there. It's pretty terrible. So we're gonna move this so you can see it. Move it right in. Let's get the light in here. Get my wig out of the way. Maybe the light will be better over here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is one of the easiest jobs that you can do because S-classes have an open caliper design. And so what that means is it just means that the caliper is not closed here. So you have access to the brake pads. All you have to do is knock out there's these two rods here, guides, I guess they're called, that hold the caliper, hold the brake pads in. So you knock them out. There's a little kind of shim metal thing here, spring thing that presses the pads in, and then you just pull them out. It's that easy. It wasn't that easy on that other side, but it'll be a lot easier on this side because I know better what I'm doing. So let's just spray some brake cleaner here because you're supposed to. There we go. And then, so we have to knock out these guides. So for this job, one thing you're going to need is you're going to need a knocky-outy thing. You can use like a screw or a nail or something. You don't have to have like a fancy punch like this. But there we go. It goes in there. Okay. And the other guy. Okay, there we go. So that's one guide, and this one is a little bit harder, but good idea. I have some robo pliers. So robo pliers, and there we go. Okay, ta-da! The other one's out. Now, there's the metal shim in here, and it's kind of being held in by the brake pad wear sensor. So the brake pad wear sensor, it's just going to break out. There's no way to save this thing. So when you are ordering new brake pads, make sure that the fronts have or come with the sensors. Let's see if we can pull this out or just break it. Oh, there we go. So, and then this is the metal spring clip that holds the pads in place. So there we go, voila. And as I can see here that the brake pads are worn to like 0. So the when you see that light go on, that brake pad wear light, it's time to do the brake pads. Yeah, for sure, because all that. Mine are really worn. If you can see the pistons are extended almost all the way. So now this is the hard part, and this is the part that gave me trouble on the other side, is pushing back the pistons is really tough. It just doesn't see the turn, so it should be freedom. I don't know if just pulling on it, because it's got some looseness. What I did on the other side, actually, which helped a lot, so let's do that here. You need a 19, and there's 2 handy bolts here that if you undo them, what it does is to loosen the caliper. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's much easier. Way easier. Okay. One. So this one. Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay. Now, so by loosening, I'm not going to take off the caliper. I'm just loosening it. The reason for that is if I loosen it, then I have some play. It gives me some play. So taking the pads out and putting them back in makes it a lot easier. That's what I learned doing the other side. Okay, so it's a little, I loosened it. Just a couple of turns. It should hopefully move a bit more. So now, let's get in here and try to push these guys back. And get the pads out. This maybe a little bit of cleaner to help. Yeah, this is definitely the hardest part. What I had to do on the other side is take the caliper off, because I messed up how I pushed those pistons back. I'll show you once I get this off. And I had to use like a clamp to get them out. So I don't wish that upon you. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's it. That's it. So there you go. Wow. That is a really worn brake pad. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. Okay. That's bad. That's bad. Okay, here we go. And now this one popped out, and you can see there's the sensor embedded in the brake pad. So once that sensor goes off, you got to change those pads. So mine didn't take long. I mean, I can see there. Actually, there's still. You can see where the wire is, where it was touching, because the light wasn't on all the time. So, but yeah, but these are done. These are done, and they were even more done on the other side. So, okay, so now is the tricky part. So you can see there's 2 pistons per side, and you have to push them. You have to push them back. You gotta be real slow, and just push a little bit and a little bit. And what happens is when you push on one side, the other side comes out. So you push that one in and you push that one. But eventually, what happens is enough of the fluid goes up, because it's easier to push the pistons out than it is to have the fluid go back out there. That's why I did that cap. So maybe there's less back pressure. I don't know if there is or isn't. I don't know. I don't fully understand, know how the system works, but I would suspect there is. You also there's all the ABS stuff. So you have to, when you're pushing the thing back, you got to be careful that you don't damage the ABS stuff. But I mean, how else are you supposed to do it? So I don't know. I have the shop manual, which I actually didn't read for this job. So I don't know. Maybe it says shop manual is full of like dreadful warnings, like do not touch this, do not do that. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna push a little bit on this guy, and then a little bit on this guy, and a little bit here. Now, because our pads are new, we've got to push these pistons
basically all the way to the bottom. Otherwise, there's no way that this new pad is going to fit in. So, all right, there we go. So you can see it, I don't know if you can see, but when I push one, the other one goes. But eventually you just slowly kind of go back and forth, and you get them both. And what helps is you got just a little bit of extra room by loosening the, let's see, these guys are tough. They just don't want to move. You don't want to move. I wonder why. It's so hard. I wonder why. It's just dreadful. Dreadfully hard. Okay. Okay, let's see if that works. So, you got to grease your pads. So, grease on one side, and grease on this side. Anywhere it touches the caliper, you want to have some grease there. So there's a little spot here, and a little spot there. I don't know if that's too much grease or not enough. You're supposed to also use a wire brush to clean the inside of the of all of this. But you know, it's an old car, and I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Okay, so no, not yet. So a little bit more pushing. Okay, just try now. They sort of are springing back slowly. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's one end. Now they don't go all the way to the bottom. There we go. It goes like a little bit up, a little bit up. Okay, so now this side, which is really tough. I have actually a tougher pry bar. Let's just run and grab that. Oh, it's so boring, man, it's so boring. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to pry this other side. Okay, so exact same thing. This is a much stronger, a better pry bar. It works really well. It doesn't bend as much as that screwdriver did. There. Okay. So, next pad. Where's our grease? So again, a little grease on that side. And a little grease on that side. I don't think actually these bottoms need anything because it's not touching. It's never touching the bottom. It's just touching along the sides. So let's see if that fits. Almost. That looks good. That looks like it should. It's a little, not yet, so we're almost there. Almost. Okay. And see, undoing those bolts that hold the caliper really, it just gives me that little bit of extra room to move and play. It's just perfect. It's really good. It's a good move. Okay. So we're stuck on something. Not sure what. Oh, there we go. That's it. Yeah, this side is way easier than the other side. Once you've watched the thing. So maybe I'll edit in something from the other side. I didn't really do a great job of videotaping it though. So, okay, so now that's easy. Look, the old pads popped out, the new ones pop in. So now what we do is we just put everything back. So this thing goes back. It goes like this. So just so you have an idea there. they're like, where is it? There. These things faces out. Okay? And these guys, so with these guys, give them a nice bath. Okay, and can't hurt to put some grease on them. That'll make it easier to slide them in, and it'll make it easier maybe for the brakes to slide along. So there we go. Make sure the metal spring goes under. You know that. Okay, so so this brake pad has gone in too far. So I have my robo pliers handy. And there we go. Just pull it back out. And it should be it. Looks like it's all lined up. Okay, our next contestant. So let's put a little bit of grease on there. I know I should be a good mechanic, would clean all this stuff really well with a wire brush, really take their time. But I'm going to tell you that I think, you know, this isn't a concours vehicle, and I think it honestly makes zero difference as this part of the car is inundated with brake dust and guck and stuff. Now, important thing to note, I don't know if it'll be in this video, if I talked about it on the other side or on this side. So these brake pads, what happened when I installed them, I got talked into putting in really cheap brake pads. And they're fine, they worked, you know, the car braked, but the brake dust is the worst thing. So you wash the car and 5 minutes later, it is covered in brake dust. The wheels are covered in brake dust. It's really destroyed the wheels. So I don't recommend, I mean, they weren't super cheap. They weren't the cheapest, but they certainly weren't great. So ceramic brake pads apparently are the best kind of brake pads. So that's what I've ordered here, is these ceramic brake pads. We'll see if there's brake dust from them. If not, they were a couple of dollars more. They're really, the difference is minor. So there, that's good. Now, the other thing that you may be noticing is, hey, Raph, you're changing the pads. Aren't you supposed to change the rotors? Yes. Yes, you are. But here's the thing. My daughter needs to go to pony camp this year, and pony camp costs a lot. It costs us a little bit more than the calipers the brake rotors. These rotors, they're not great. They are kind of scored. They've got that lip thing going, which you're not supposed to have, but there's no vibrations through the steering when you brake. So that's a sign that your rotors are gone. And the car still has excellent braking. So I'm not changing the rotors this time. In the next 5 years, next time, yes, we'll have to change the rotors. Hopefully we will have grown out of pony camp, or I earn more money than I do. You know, I'm not a rich man. I'm not really a Mercedes-Benz owner. So, you know, you can criticize me for that. But the big wear item here is the pad. So now we hammer this in all the way. Boom. And this guy. Boom. Okay, and now the final step is this. This is the sensor, and how it goes. If you can see, I don't know. Here, focus. Maybe you can focus on that. There, focus on that. Nope. Okay. Well, anyways, it goes like this. The wire goes this way, and there's a little hole here, and the sensor goes in that hole, and there's also a groove in the backing of the pad that the sensor goes in. Now, it's dreadfully delicate. Thankfully, this company provided two sets of sensors. Two sets. So if I break this one, I will have still some sensors left over. So I'm just gonna yeah, hopefully that's it. That looks good. It looks flat against it, and then this just plugs right in. I think that's it. Yeah. Sensor's in. It's greased. The outside of the pads are greased. Metal spring is in. Guides are in. So now all we have to do is take our 19 millimeter wrench here and tighten the caliper back on. And the front is done. That's both sides of the front. So put the wheels on, lower it, we'll see. Let's do the back. I'll do the back now. The back is even easy. I'll show you the back. The back is just as easy as this. Okay. So the story here is exactly the same as on the front, except there's only one piston in the caliper, so it kind of makes it easier to push back. But look, oh yeah, look. So there is a wear sensor. You know, on the other side there was, so on the rears there's just one wear sensor. I knew there was a wear sensor. Ha! Good, so there's just one wear sensor on the rears. It's only on one side, so that feels like cost cutting to me, Mercedes-Benz. That's not good. Okay, so first thing you do is, like we did on the other side, like we did at the front, is knock out these guys. Can you see that? Okay, move my tools over. Move the light over. Bring you guys in a little bit closer. Let's see if you can. Ah, there, that's better. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Like that. And if we push the spring, we should have it easier here. Ow! Ow! Okay. Boom. Those guys are out. Retaining spring is out. And unplug this thing. And now, exact same story. There they go. So these come out. There we go. Now, interestingly enough, these aren't as worn. Uh-oh. That's a bad sign. No. Are they the same? Okay, they're the same. They're the same as the other side. So they're about 50%. So we're taking them out. I'm taking them out kind of early because 50%, that's still fine, but whatever. You know, these are better brake pads. These are these ceramic pads, so they're supposed to work better and have less of that awful brake dust. The other thing is these are like $30. So it's okay. I mean, I know you don't get rich by wasting your money, but you know, what if I couldn't remember how worn these were, and what if I had pulled them out and they were way more worn. Now, so what is good, what I mean by they're worn the same as the other side. So what's important when you check your brake pads, especially in an old car, is that all the pads are worn the same. So these are worn about 50%, 0% on all the ones at the front. And I don't mean front back the same, because you get different brake force distribution on the front back, and I think these were done later than those when they were originally done, blah, blah, blah. But what's important is that the sides are the same. So the left side is the same as the right side. Because if one side isn't really worn at all, or one side is way more worn than the other, and like if the pads aren't the same, that means that maybe one of the pistons is seized, or you're not getting the same brake. So there might be a problem with that brake force distribution thing. Now, of course, the thing that this car is advertised for is that in a normal car, most of the braking is done by the fronts. You get like 90% or 80% of the braking force. The thing that distributes it gives about 80%. But in an S class, this S class, I don't know about other ones, but this one, for some reason,
The rears get more. I don't remember how much it is. It was like 40 or something like that, whatever it is. And apparently that's like a big deal. Oh, these were nice pads. These are Bosch, good Bosch pads. So these were OEM. So I went cheap on the fronts, and I had horrible brake dust there. And these Bosch were actually pretty good. But I mean the rear doesn't get that much dust anyways. Okay, so pads are out. So let's just spray a little cleaner in there. Cleaner front. Hoi. Okay. I put my finger in here. Just any yucky stuff come out. Okay, so we're ready to put the new pads in. Here we go. So just along the side, and flip it over the other side, just as we did at the front. There. Okay. Them today. So I just pushed the pistons all the way back. That's the best way to do it. I just don't want to wreck anything. That's the thing. It's always the fear on this car that you're gonna damage something. So many things are delicate. It kind of does make you long for a Ford or GM product. Although the thing is, things on a GM product are delicate too, because they're super cheap, and they just, like, you touch anything that's made of plastic. Although same goes for a BMW. So whatever, or a newer Mercedes Benz. So there we go. So boy, that was really easy. So I didn't even have to loosen the caliper here. I just pushed those pistons as far back as they would go. So now we take these guys, we take our spring. Okay, so the spring, again, if you're looking at it, where is it? There it is in the video. So it's tricky. It goes, that faces out. Okay, so in it goes. There you are, spring. Okay, and these things have actually, the pads have gone a little bit too far, so I'm just going to use this to, yeah, there we go. Just a little bit out. There. Okay. Spring. Right way up. Okay. And these guys, we're going to grease them. Of course, I'm not cleaning them like I'm supposed to. Ref's dad would be not impressed. Maybe not a good way to do it, but you know, you can't do it perfect every time, and I'm sure it'll be fine. These things aren't supposed to, they're not a moving part. Or moving very much. Okay. Okay. There we go. So, ready. Let's see if I just. And then we just use this to push the spring down. And I can see that this caliper closest to, or the brake pad closest to me is has slid down again. So we'll see if we can kind of raise it up. There we go. That should be good. And now get the spring out of the way again. Okay, that guy's in. You can see in the holes here, you can see if they're in the right place or not. So I can see that this guy is not exactly not going in where he's supposed to. So that's just, how far off is he? Just a bit. Okay, pushing back the spring again will help. We'll get it right in. Okay, that's good. Now, we're ready for the final step. Good ab workout here. That's it. You can see those guys poking out. It's exactly where we want them. And finally, grab a sensor. Luckily, my kit came with extra sensors. The front brakes came with extra sensors. The rear ones didn't come with any. So make sure your kit includes some sensors. It looks like it went in fine. Okay, that's it. Now just put the wheels back on, lower the car, torque the wheels to whatever it is, 80, 90, whatever it is, foot-pounds. And we'll see if it all works. So. Okay, so we're out on a test drive to get a feel to see if it all worked. Changing the brakes helped, and yes, it did. The brakes are great now, so they bite right from the top. And, there we go. You get some really good stopping power, so we can bring this 5,000-pound beast to a stop just fine. I freaked out all the people. I wonder if the brakes need to be bled. We didn't bleed them, but I think I'm gonna leave it because the brakes work fine. And there's just, you have to know when to stop with these old cars. Because I could bleed the brakes and then it doesn't feel exactly like I want it to feel. Like I imagined that they would feel when the car was new, but I suspect it is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. I mean, the brakes work, they work fantastic. But you know, you get this idea of like what you want it to be, and so what you end up doing is you end up changing things that you don't need to change, or fixing things you don't need to change. So I'll end up bleeding them. They probably don't need to be bled. There's no way the air got in there, and then it still won't feel right, or it'll feel the same. So then I would end up changing the brake lines in the front. I didn't do the brake lines in the front, so okay, well let's just change those brake lines. I'll get rid of the sponginess, and it probably won't do it either. So then I'll go, oh, okay, well now I got to change the rotors because I never changed the rotors. So let's change the rotors, even though they're fine. These rotors are good. And then it probably still won't, the way you imagine it. So I'll end up changing the master cylinder. Who knows how much that thing costs? And that's how it kind of goes with these old cars. Because, a car with so much mileage, 300,000 K, you can literally change everything, and because everything is a little bit worn. So I think you need to just know when to stop. Otherwise, you're not going to have any money for the rest of your life. So, my kid's got to go to pony camp, like I said. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. That's how you change the brake. A terribly easy job. Terribly easy DIY. Just remember, push those pistons back a little bit at a time, Eventually, they'll make it back. If you're still having trouble getting the brake pad in, loosening the caliper, just loosening those 19mm bolts that hold the caliper seems to help a lot. So it gives you a little bit more room to play with. And that's about it. If you like the video, hit like, hit subscribe, whatever it is you're supposed to do. And I'll have more videos coming along when I can.